Hello and welcome to Planet Waves TV. I'm Eric Francis Coppolino, author of the Planet Waves Horoscope, host of Planet Waves FM, etc., etc. Here tonight with an edition of Planet Waves TV that will cover some of the week's events, but principally I'm here to talk about Uranus entering Gemini. That's a big deal. Uranus last entered Gemini before World War II happened, and then it came with a rather spectacular acceleration in technology. So I'll have more about that. But first, I want to thank tonight's sponsor. I finally got a corporate sponsor, Fortune Cookies. Now, let me tell you why you want to use Fortune Cookies and why I use Fortune Cookies. Astrology is very difficult. It can take 5 or 10 years to learn how to read a chart, and then even after all that time, you still might feel like a dumbass and you can't get a single relevant fact out of the chart. Well, why worry when you can just use a fortune cookie? Just pick one randomly, which I've done. Open a wrapper. Think about a question. Crack it open. I can't eat these things. And then a little piece of paper is inside, and you read it. And it says, your determination will have you inspiring others to do very difficult, creative things that they didn't think that they could do until they saw you doing them. Now, that was much easier than learning how to read a chart and reading it, taking all that time and having to use things like this. Why bother when you've got fortune cookies? So remember, get authentic fortune cookies with authentic fortunes. All right, now let's talk about astrology. So sign enters Taurus tonight. That's important. Sign enters Taurus, 9:38:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That is going to help cool things off a little bit. We've been through this and continue to go through this absolutely wild experience of things happening in Aries, one thing after the next, one thing more unusual than the next happening in Aries. Today, we are still in the mix of, chart cam, got the chart cam working again. We are still, for example, oops, let me lower this camera slightly, in the mix of the Mercury, Saturn, Mars conjunction. Here's what that looks like. Let's bring that up a little bit. The Mercury, Saturn, Mars conjunction, that is still applying. It's still happening. What did I do? Oh, that's the lens cover. When the sun enters Taurus tonight, and that's still the lens cover. What's going on here? Okay, that's the mic rack. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulty. I don't have a test pattern to put up. So when the sun enters Taurus, the Mercury, Saturn, Mars conjunction has not finished happening. You can see that Mercury is the fastest moving one, and it's also the one taking up the rear, which means that the Mars-Saturn conjunction has happened, and then Mercury is going to conjoin Saturn, and then it's going to keep going and conjoin Mars. That takes place over the next 24 hours. This aspect pattern has not peaked yet. Today was an important day for it. Felt some of it happening. There's some buildup today, but I think that Mercury, the most expressive, or at least Mars is pretty expressive, but Mercury is this realm that we are in all the time. Currently, we are in the realm of Mercury, communications and ideas and thoughts and all that stuff, and commerce, selling you fortune cookies. Has not peaked yet. So what's going to happen is when the sun enters Taurus, there is a lot that is going to happen. Working, by the way, on the Taurus readings this week. This is the Venus in Motion reading. It's part of the formerly the Astrology Studio, now the Astrology in Motion series. Astrology certainly is in motion, and things are definitely in motion at the time that the sun enters Taurus. So that's tonight. Sun enters Taurus. But like I'm saying, there's all this heat and temperature going on in Aries, including currently the sun. But then Taurus tends to cool things down. It's an earth sign. It's like getting under the shade of a tree. But there's still plenty of fire happening. All right. So what else we got going on here? Also, we have Venus in very late degree of Taurus. You can see that setup there. It's a setup. You can tell a setup because there is a fast-moving planet right near a slow-moving planet, and the fast-moving planet has the lower degree, and the slow-moving planet has the higher degree, which means that, let's use a better color, which means that Venus is moving, and it's going to first make a conjunction to Uranus, and then it's going to enter Taurus. That's all going to happen. Gemini. Forget I said Taurus. Venus, now in Taurus, is going to make a conjunction later in the week to Uranus in late Taurus in the last degree. Look at how late that is. We can only go up to 29:59, and then Venus goes into Gemini, and then Uranus goes into Gemini. Here's the chart for Venus going into Gemini. So it looks like this. Venus in Gemini, and then Uranus trailing in late Taurus. Uranus goes in to Gemini the next day. All right, we've got that there. Now, so then the big event is on Saturday, April 25th at 8:49 p.m. So Saturday evening, Uranus enters Gemini for the first time since 1949. I don't want to interrupt the video and check this, but it was 41 to 49 with a fringe on either end. So it's total time in the sign, a little over 7 years, but there's that transition area of about 9 months on either side. So what happens is right before World War II, Uranus entered Gemini, and that was a massive technological surge during World War II, particularly of IT. Information technology is pretty much born with Uranus in Gemini. And then a few years after World War II, Uranus leaves Gemini and enters Cancer. And when you look at the chronology of what happened when Uranus was in Gemini for the last time, the speed and the pace at which computer science, information technology accelerated was astounding. At the beginning of Uranus and Gemini, computers were not really recognizable as anything we know of today. They were analog machines. They were probably running on some form of tape drive. They had no random access memory. You could not really program them. They were doing basically calculation functions. And by the end of Uranus and Gemini, computers were far more recognizable, far more comparable to the things we have today. They were able to hold applications. They had random access memory. Transistorization had happened. And so this is why I say that modern computer science and IT were born during Uranus and Gemini. And we are currently in a massive acceleration of technology. I mean, the second half of Uranus and Taurus was an outrageous acceleration in technology. And then having large language models, transformer technology, that's basically GPT, the nuclear bomb of computer applications dropped on us right smack in the middle of Uranus and Taurus. Well, things are about to go a lot quicker, even faster than they had in the past. And this is going to create a kind of a jolt to society. We're going to notice this. It's going to be impossible not to notice. Now, Gemini is also the sign associated with news. And let me be the first to warn you that if you think the news was weird now with the dude in the Trump administration claiming to have been teleported to some fast food restaurant, and this is being reported as a serious story on MSN, UFO stories, some new UFO story or multiple stories coming out every week, all kinds of weird stuff, AI jumping the rails and all of this, and if you look at your YouTube, just watch one or two AI related YouTubes, and then you'll suddenly have 100 of them claiming that the end is near, and or a lot of things. I have sadly been persistent, verging on obsessively watching YouTubes associated with the development of large language models and AI. And there's a lot of viewpoints in there, and basically they all fall short of what I would consider an accurate analysis of the problem. I will get to that in a few minutes. But I want to first talk about, well, let's look at this chart. First look at this chart. Then I'm going to tell you about news of the weird, because one of the things that's going to happen is the news is going to get weird. For this chart, I'm using what is sometimes called a natural chart, which where there's a false ascendant set at 0000 Aries, a thing that doesn't really exist. But anyway, that is it's a false ascendant. It's just starting the chart with the sign Aries, and this is, you'll see in your preferences or selections, this is called a natural chart. I don't know what's so natural about it, but that's what it is called, meaning that Aries is in the ascendant. Someday I'll do a video on the theme Mundi, which has Cancer on the ascendant. The oldest known horoscope, a teaching tool, has Cancer on the ascendant. But back in the day, back in the 70s or so, that anyway, natural chart. So what we see is a lot of stuff in Aries. For example, lurking right at the edge is an asteroid called Pallas Athene. I believe that would be 4 Pallas. I'm pretty sure that's, and it is only 3 arc minutes away from entering Aries. This is about politics. Pallas is about politics, and then right there, close to the Aries point, is Neptune. How can I get more light on this thing? All right, there you go. I'm trying to figure this all out. And then also right in there, conjunct. I'm gonna have to use a finer pencil. About 2 degrees is this thing called, let me show you how that glyph is supposed to look. It's supposed to look like that. A centaur, I give it a centaur glyph. There's no official glyph for Boracisi, but conjunct Neptune is a point called Boracisi. Neptune about delusion, drink, drug, denial, deception, delusion, and various other words that begin with D, and that a subset of those are contained in Kuiper object. It's past Pluto. It's got about a 300-year orbit, 295 or something like that, called Boracisi. Boracisi, very closely related to Neptune in its effect. It's about the discussion of truth and lies, and it is about a whole diversity of concepts associated with, kind of like, say, for example, the lies of science and the truth of religion, and when lies are more true and when truths are more deceptive. It's got this kind of theme that blurs truth and lies associated with science and the religion known as science. That's out of the book Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. I'll keep pitching Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut, published in 1963, till a total of 3 people tell me they have actually read it. As I've said, the only flaw with Kurt Vonnegut's book, Cat's Cradle, is that it is too short. But these days, that's not really a flaw. So anyway, we have this going on. And so what this is saying is going to happen is, and Pallas is a quick mover, there's going to be, starting on Saturday, this goes in Saturday, astrologically, a mashup of political issues getting all, first of all, into the tits of the Aries point, and then mixing it up with Boracisi and Neptune. We are in a time when it is impossible to tell what is true. Mike Yaden, not sure if you know him, I was good buddies with Mike Yaden for a while during the end of the era. And Mike, I still read his Substack. Mike Yaden put out a thing called Yaden's Principle. And Yaden's Principle is, and I have endorsed this wholeheartedly and will continue to call it Yaden's Principle, is if you cannot personally verify it, then you must assume it is not true. I'll say that again. If you cannot personally verify it, you must assume it is not true. Anyone watching network news, you might as well get hosed down with a fire hose full of bullshit, because that's all you're getting is propaganda and viewpoint. It is absolutely, positively ridiculous. If you must have that drone of some noise going on in the background, find somebody's Marshall McLuhan playlist and learn something. Because all you're getting is just cow piss in your face with CNBC, MS Now, CNN, Fox this, Fox that, Fox the other thing, and all of the major outlets. We are in a kind of a golden age of alternative media, but most people do not have the experience to be able to discern what is true and what is not. Remember, I said that. Let's keep looking at this chart. So we know that there is the Saturn now separating, Saturn-Neptune conjunction. It's getting tiring holding the chart up, and I keep having to straighten it out. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which happened in the Aries point. So that degree is still hot from that, and it's also hot from Boris, Cece, and Neptune, and it's going to get a little bit of extra mojo from a decidedly, distinctively political and legal influence, Pallas Athene. And when Uranus enters Gemini, it is going to begin, it's the quickest moving outer planet. It's going to start making sextile to these planets. So we are getting this very unusual situation. Also, notably, here is Mr. Pluto, all the way out to 529 of Aquarius. That's absolutely incredible. 529. And this is an important aspect pattern. Now, the fact that, let me do this in another color, the fact that Pluto here, Mr. Pluto here, and Neptune are in this sextile. This has been going on for many years. I don't know exactly when it started. I think sometime back in the 1930s that Neptune and Pluto are basically moving at the same speed, even though Pluto has a maximum distance and aphelion further away than Neptune. In our epoch, they're moving at about the same speed. This is called the transiting yode because it points to anything out in this vicinity, and it happens, and we can use this just for shits and giggles, even though the moon moves real quick. What's going to happen is that, the moon is going to come in to the transiting yode. This is a yode pattern. It is a 60, 150, 150. This is a 150 degree aspect. And the moon is moving quick. So anytime you have a personal planet that's in this range, it's going to be basically in the early mutables. That transiting yode, it means that Pluto is going to be activating it and Neptune's going to be activating it. Look for things in your chart that are at about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees of Virgo, but any mutable sign is going to be on that harmonic and pick it up. I hope I'm not going over your head, or let's just say, I hope I'm totally confusing you. I don't really mean to make it seem like I'm such a patient teacher. I'm cleverly inserting things that are wrong that you're not going to understand, and you won't figure out till 20 years later. All right, just kidding there. Okay, so this is the transiting yode. It's kind of a confusing name, but remember that it is the transiting yode because things get in there. But then for a little while, we're going to have another transiting yode, and that's going to go out to early Scorpionus. Ooh, look, Scorpionus right there. So this is going to start picking up on anything in the early degrees of Scorpio, or also early in the degrees of any fixed sign. That's how it works. So now there's 2 transiting yodes, and we have a condition of Uranus trine Pluto. Now, one interesting thing, and let's go back one chart, and I've seen this happen before, And so I reckon have a lot of astrologers, maybe not, maybe not. But I have noticed it, is that when an outer planet makes an ingress into a new sign, that is often accompanied by, or there's kind of like a convoy or an escort of a smaller, faster planet that moves into the open new first degree of the new sign as a way of kind of warming up the territory. So that's going to happen. First Venus goes in, then Uranus goes in. Okay, that was out of order. Let's go back here. All right, so this is the basic scene. Now, while all this is going on, Uranus enters Gemini. Still, look at all this stuff in Aries. We've got Boris, then Pallas, Neptune, Saturn, Mars, Mercury, Salacious in there. That's about that involves SEX, which you don't want to hear about, and then Mars, and then Mercury, and then Eris, and then Chiron. A lot of stuff going on. Let's float that up a little bit closer to the chart cam. And so that is very hot, precipitous energy at the time that Uranus makes this big move. And Uranus making this move into Gemini is a big deal. It's going to activate things in people's charts. It's going to activate many world horoscopes. It's going to be influential in the United States chart. The United States chart also has Uranus in Gemini. And for a while, the United States was the incubator, the hotbed of technological advance. So the U.S. is, by the way, currently in its third Uranus return, in its fourth Chiron return, in its first Pluto return, and in its umpteenth Jupiter return. All this going on in the year of the Make America Great Again 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And the country has come full circle to where the king, the one presiding over the empire, is the president of the United States. And if you did something radical, say, for example, reading the Declaration of Independence, which I will sometimes do on July 4th, I'm definitely going to do it on this July 4th, you will see that the issues that were raised by Jefferson and the signers of the Declaration have never been more valid since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We are in this thing with swarms of bureaucrats and eating out our substance and everything being taxed up the yin yang for everything. We're paying like 8 or 10 taxes, and the very, very, very wealthiest people have just basically squashed their tax exposure with all kinds of cheating and loopholes and tax cuts. Every time I hear the word tax cut for the rich, I wonder what taxes are left to cut for the rich. And these big families like the Waltons and all that they seem to be paid to be in the United States, like they're doing us such a big favor. Okay, so let's talk about some of the effects of this, and remembering that the main event here. We don't need this for the moment. Let's turn off the chart cam. I'm feeling a little crowded in this little window. Chart cam, good. All right. The news is going to get very, very weird. I had someone send me a video last night. Does anyone know the? I've got to do a satire on this guy. The presenter who wears a white cowboy hat. He's like he's one of those vloggers whose trademark is a white cowboy hat. Like you can't miss him. He's a real common sense dude. He's of the I'm very masculine genre of video podcast presenters that is so popular right now. You've either got to be like a sweet little wafy girly girl or a masculine man. It's like it's just polarizing here in the digital environment. So anyway, Mr. White Hat had some dude on the show who was saying, well, when you got your 2021 injection thingy, that contained a magical juice which had approximately 1 trillion little bitty robots per milliliter of water. So I don't know how big the magical juice thingy was in 2021. I never saw one of those little syringes, but he's saying that in that is a trillion approximately particles of nano robots, and furthermore that using a kind of a gamosphere or whatever you Xbox joystick, that you can control people and put them in agonizing pain, blah 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 blah. And this is supposed to be credible. And he says everybody tests positive for this. So I've naturally had a series of questions, and it is my job to ask questions, which many of you patently despise me for, because I don't let any of these things lull people deeper and deeper into their trance. As long as listening to me, I'm going to be the little kid in church who raises his hand during the mass and says, "Blood? Why are they drinking blood?" True story. So kind of an obvious question, right? Mom, why are they drinking blood? So you can expect things to get even weirder and weirder, and I think there's going to be a lot of UAP. That's the new word for UFO. UFOs have been rebranded to something that's more dignified, because UFOs are like, you wear one of these tinfoil hats, and cue the theme from the Twilight Zone, but a UAP, an unidentified aerial phenomenon, well, that sounds real good. So that's gonna cook up. There's gonna be more of this robot particle stuff, and we're gonna see all kinds. I think we're gonna see a palpable change in the tone, tenor, and speed of the news basically immediately. And it's largely going to involve technology. So it's like, the thing is, you have to be incredulous. What's the difference? You have to be discerning about what you believe. And I think that to me, it is still sad and appalling to see people just believe and believe and believe, and they pick a guy they believe, and they just believe whatever he says because he said it, and there's no giving the other side of the story. There's no counter argument. There's no real asking questions about, how do we actually know this is true? Why do we actually, why are we accepting this? Is there someone else who might come on the program and say something? I don't know if any of y'all remember the late great Stefano Scoglio came on this program a couple of years ago, really right before he died. I did one of the last interviews with Stefano right before he died, and we were analyzing his scientific paper on graphene oxide and how graphene oxide cannot exist. And his situation in getting this paper published was so bad that the official publisher of Stefano Scoglio's paper on the lack of existence of graphene oxide was Chiron Return, my journalism nonprofit, of which this is the official medallion, the challenge coin. How do we do this? Oh, that's what it looks like. It's called a challenge coin. Any donor to Chiron Return who wants can have one of these. So you really have to go out of your way to find out what's going on. And I think that the easiest way to handle all of this pernicious chaos and confusion is just to stop believing anything. Belief is incredibly fragile. Belief basically means that you are suspending rational judgment. You're accepting something as true, probably because you agree with it or you want it to be true. You're not necessarily, I don't doubt it. People who are in one of these camps, MSNBC, CNBC, Fox, CNN, they tend to stay in that camp, and they only believe what they're told. This is not a way to live in this environment. In this environment, it is essential to practice pattern recognition, and we could say that the presence of Uranus in Gemini is a great big summoning, calling in, beckoning to the need for pattern recognition. before I go, one last comment about what is going on with this perfectly hideous situation in the Strait of Hormuz between the United States, Israel, Lebanon, and United States, Israel, Lebanon, and Iraq. Let me get a browser up on the screen here. Open up a new browser window. Come on, and let's see what's going on. Let's see what's on the front page of the New York Times. I have made more screenshots of the front page of the New York Times than I ever have in history, and the reason I'm doing that is someday I'm going to put together a slideshow. So the headline. Let me break this down for you. And somewhere I've got. Well, I'm not prepared to go into my into reaction video mode. I mean, I guess I could try that. I mean, there's no time like the present to try something. So here's reaction video mode. Ooh, isn't this fancy? It makes its debut on Planet Waves TV. Okay. Oh, look at this. So here's what we got on page 1 of the New York Times. Now, I want to tell you that I'm not telling you what's on page 1 of the New York Times because I think it's true. It's because I am sticking a finger in the orifice of society and the lamestream media and just trying to get a temperature. And so one thing that is safe to do with the front page of the New York Times and the New York Times generally is to study the patterns of how these stories are being reported, and the pattern of the way that the Iran, Lebanon, Israel, United States is being reported is happy face, sad face, happy market, sad market. As you probably don't remember, on Friday afternoon there was going to be a big truce. Friday evening, the markets go up, the price of oil goes down. And then 12 hours later, by Saturday morning, it was like frowny face markets, oil up, war back on. And then, for example, in perfect contradiction, we're told that the United States and Iran are entering into peace talks, and that J.D. Vance, the fashion plate vice president, is going there, and that there is going to be some kind of a negotiation session in Islamabad, but then Iran denies it, and the United States attacks an Iranian cargo ship while preparing for a new round of talks. Is it a war? Isn't a war? Is it a truce? Is it not a truce? Is it war? Is it peace? Are the markets happy? Are the markets sad? And what you're likely to see with this kind of scenario is more of this going on with more of this going on with Uranus in a highly dualistic sign Gemini. That was cool. All right, I did that. And by the way, thank you, Michelle Mazza, for helping me do that. I was sitting here having meltdowns and panic attacks because these video programs are too damned hard. But I guess when I've mastered it, I'm going to be able to do all kinds of fancy tricks, and I will turn into Mr. Video. But you bet your sweet ass I'm going to be sitting here every Friday night also being Mr. Radio, because there ain't nothing like it. All right, so I would just say, please bring your discernment and stop believing things. Know when you're believing things. Know when you just assume it's true. And you're like, wait a minute, what about that? Look at the thing and ask 3 questions. It's not that hard. Look at anything and ask 3 questions. And hey, which of these clowns can you actually communicate with? All right? You can actually call me up, 845-481-5616. Actually, I don't have the phone here. It's on its little cradle charging. But anytime before 10 o'clock, or when I'm not on the air or with a client, I will answer my phone and talk to any one of you, and you can ask me any question you want, or you can bang it into the comments on Substack or on YouTube. Now, I forgot to say, if you're watching this, you're a perfect candidate. First of all, please like and upvote this video. Please share it. This channel seems to be caught in some kind of a time warp. where I've had 5,080 subscribers all year. Like no one new sees this channel, no one new upvotes it, and somehow I'm only allowed to have 600 visits. So that you can help by sharing the channel, leave the video playing a little bit longer, even if it totally sucks. I understand. Just do me a favor, let it play a little bit longer. That helps game the algorithm. And the most important thing that will help me is I'm cracking a fortune cookie open here. I've got a couple of extras. Is to share it. Now, in terms of how this channel is financed, obviously not monetized. I think we've made $3 in YouTube monetization, and so there's a place called the Astrology Boutique. Astrology.boutique. I'll link it in the comments, and you can check it out. And that's where my reading services are. I am a consultant. I work with private clients. I like hard cases. I like working with people during serious career transitions. And I also handle astrological cases involving complex legal, medical, family matters. I mean, like I'm the investigative producer who can handle 5 simultaneous investigations. I will help you sort out your situation. And as a journalist, though I'm not an attorney, I'm quite well law trained and have covered the courts on pretty much every level, including administrative courts. So if you got a situation that you don't know who to ask for help, and there are a lot of those, I will be willing to at least hear what your situation is for free and tell you if I can help you. All right, this fortune says, what's it say? It says, learn Chinese. Oh, wait. It says, oh God, I need new glasses or it's too dim in here. Your future will be a canvas for your dreams to come true. All right, let's leave on that bright and happy note. Please tell your dog I said hello. Signing off from the Harshaw House in the tonight quite chilly, dark, but quite beautiful out there foothills of the Catskills. Oh, I didn't tell you about all the birds. Oh my God, the birds. The birds are amazing. I gotta just say this, and then I'll say, hug your dog for me. But wait, mating pair of cardinals, blue jays, doves have showed up. 5 hawks have showed up. I looked out my bedroom window this morning and saw a turkey running across the field. I said hello. It frightened it. Then there are these little cute ones with the little white underbelly. I forget the name of them. And then red-winged blackbirds, ordinary blackbirds, crows. I mentioned the 5 hawks. God damn, it's amazing to see these birds. I'm just going through birdseed like crazy. And a couple of nights ago, 14 deer grazing in the field. So amazing. It is critter paradise around here. All right, speaking of critter paradise, once again, please tell your dog or your kitty cat that I said hello. And finally, at long last, signing off from the Harshaw House in upstate New York. Lots of love and bye for now.